During a high-stakes state visit at Windsor Castle in September 2025, Queen Camilla was captured on camera forcefully pushing the Princess of Wales aside, dismissing her like an unwanted bystander. Prince William, watching from just feet away, didn't yell, didn't argue, and didn't create a scene. Instead, he met the Queen's eyes, turned away, and in a devastating breach of centuries-old protocol, refused to offer the customary bow or deferential kiss to his stepmother, effectively stripping her of her royal authority in front of the entire world. It was the exact moment the endurance ended and the purge began. As of the 2024 fiscal reporting cycle, the Duchy of Cornwall has formally ceased all financial disbursements and contractual engagements with interior designer Annabel Elliott. This decision, authorized by the Prince of Wales, marks the immediate conclusion of a professional relationship that had spanned approximately 20 years. Annabel Elliott, sister to Queen Camilla, was appointed to provide interior design services for the Duchy of Cornwall's residential properties in 2005. Since that appointment, she has received payments for professional fees and furniture procurement. While specific cumulative figures for the two-decade tenure remain undisclosed, the final fiscal records prior to this termination indicate annual payments of approximately £20,000 in fees and over £12,000 in furniture-related expenditures. The termination of this contract was not accompanied by a formal public announcement, press release, or customary statement of appreciation. The status change was reflected exclusively within the internal financial audit documentation of the Duchy of Cornwall's 2024 annual report, where the entry for payments to Annabel Elliott is now listed as nil. Palace sources confirmed that this decision was initiated directly by Prince William upon his succession to the title of Duke of Cornwall in September 2022. The directive to review and subsequently eliminate this specific expenditure line was issued internally to the Duchy's financial staff. Following the cessation of these payments, official communication from the Prince's office has characterized the move as an internal management decision regarding the administration of the Duchy's resources. Internal briefings suggest this action is part of a broader, ongoing policy to tighten financial oversight and review professional appointments tied to the royal estate. The removal of Annabel Elliott from the Duchy's payroll serves as the first documented case of a high-level staff realignment within the Prince's private office. The Prince of Wales has not provided additional public justification for the decision, though official palace sources have characterized the shift as a move toward a leaner administrative model for the monarchy. This adjustment marks the end of a long-standing arrangement where individuals linked to the Queen's extended family were retained for service within the Duchy of Cornwall's operational sphere. The termination of the contract with Miss Elliott is currently the only confirmed instance of such a severance within this specific administrative tier. The public profile of Andrew Parker Bowles, Queen Camilla's former husband, has undergone a notable shift in the first half of 2026. After years of maintaining a position on the periphery of official royal life, Parker Bowles has participated in a series of high-visibility events, significantly altering the public narrative surrounding the historical dynamics of the Queen's past marriage. In February 2026, Parker Bowles attended a military commemoration ceremony, where he was photographed alongside the Queen's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes. Additionally, he was observed representing Princess Anne at various official engagements. These appearances have prompted renewed public and media interest in the historical timeline of the relationship between King Charles, Queen Camilla, and Parker Bowles, particularly regarding the events of the 1980s and 1990s. Historical accounts and biographical records have documented that Parker Bowles and Camilla were married in 1973. During their marriage, and throughout the period in which the then Prince of Wales maintained an affair with Camilla, Parker Bowles's public stance remained consistent. Despite the documented presence of the Prince of Wales at the Parker Bowles's private residence, Andrew Parker Bowles did not initiate a public dissolution of these social or professional ties. Observers have noted that Parker Bowles's recent appearances serve to relink current royal household members to the historical framework of the late 20th century scandals. The alignment of Parker Bowles with the Queen's children at formal events has underscored the ongoing involvement of the Parker Bowles family in the contemporary royal hierarchy. This has led to a reevaluation of the long-game strategy attributed to the Queen's inner circle, a strategy that maintained proximity to the monarchy despite the well-documented infidelities and the subsequent public crises they generated. The presence of Andrew Parker Bowles at official ceremonies as a figure of reconciliation, often interpreted as a signal that the past has been resolved, has simultaneously acted as a catalyst for public analysis. Journalists and analysts have pointed out that his participation in events alongside senior royals like Princess Anne, who is known to be a close confidant of the Prince of Wales, has introduced new tensions within the palace. The Prince of Wales has been observing the public reception of these appearances. Reports from within the palace indicate that the renewed visibility of figures associated with the historical royal circle, the same circle that operated during the era of the marital collapse of the late Princess Diana, is being monitored closely by the prince's office. This development intersects with the prince's ongoing efforts to restructure the operational influence within his household. While the Queen's team has historically used the visibility of Parker Bowles to project an image of stability and forgiveness, the current atmosphere in the palace suggests this narrative is being contested. For the Prince of Wales, the reappearance of these figures is not merely a matter of social protocol. It is viewed as a persistent link to a past that he has identified as incompatible with his vision for the future of the monarchy. Furthermore, the involvement of Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes in these recent official events, mediated by their father's presence, has highlighted the complex generational positioning within the current royal family. As the transition toward a future reign approaches, the influence exerted by the Queen's family members is being scrutinized for its long-term implications on the monarchy's structure. The Prince's office has remained silent regarding the specific military and civic events involving Parker Bowles. However, the contrast between the quiet removal of Annabel Elliot and the continued public presence of Andrew Parker Bowles represents a bifurcation in how the Prince of Wales is addressing the legacy of his stepmother's faction. The current situation suggests that the prince is selectively identifying individuals who provided the infrastructure for the past royal controversies and moving to distance his own household from them, while navigating the sensitivities of events involving other senior royals. By late 2025, the internal dynamics within the royal household moved beyond administrative restructuring and into direct interpersonal conflict. Reports from within the palace indicate that the friction between Queen Camilla and Catherine, Princess of Wales, reached a critical threshold, effectively ending the period of managed public stability that had characterized the earlier years of the king's reign. Sources close to the Prince and Princess of Wales state that the Queen's recent conduct toward Catherine has become a primary driver of the prince's current decision-making. This conflict is centered on the Queen's perceived attempts to solidify her position and influence, often at the expense of the Princess of Wales. The Prince of Wales has consistently demonstrated a firm stance regarding the protection of his wife's reputation and standing, viewing any attempt to undermine her as an unacceptable breach of conduct. The catalyst for this escalation can be traced back to persistent, unattributed briefing campaigns involving the Princess of Wales. Specifically, stories suggesting that Catherine was responsible for distress caused to Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, during pre-wedding arrangements have been repeatedly used as a narrative tool to damage the princess's public image. While both the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have refuted these claims, the narrative has continued to circulate, causing reputational strain. When it became evident that these briefings were originating from within circles aligned with the Queen, the Prince of Wales took direct action. In a recorded exchange from late 2025, the Prince of Wales communicated his objections directly to the King. The Prince stated that the persistent targeting of his wife would not be tolerated. He further expressed the view that the failure to contain such behavior suggested a disregard for the stability of his own household. The King's response, characterized as dismissive of these concerns, reportedly amplified the existing tension, leading the prince to conclude that he must act independently to curb these activities. The situation was exacerbated by the Queen's own comments regarding the long-term prospects of the monarchy. Observers and palace insiders report that the Queen has frequently expressed a preference for the King to remain on the throne for an extended duration, a stance widely interpreted as a means to maintain her current central role, funding, and administrative power. It is understood that the Queen is acutely aware that once the Prince of Wales ascends to the throne and Catherine becomes Queen, her own official standing and influence will be significantly reduced. This awareness has allegedly manifested in a series of overt and covert efforts to limit the Princess of Wales's autonomy and visibility. These tensions were publicly observed in September 2025 during the state visit of United States President Donald Trump and Melania Trump to Windsor Castle. During a welcoming event, a moment was captured by international media in which the Queen appeared to use physical gestures to direct the Princess of Wales away from the visitors, a move interpreted by observers as an assertion of hierarchy that lacked the decorum expected at such an engagement. The Princess of Wales immediately complied with the gesture. But the incident was noted by the Prince of Wales, who witnessed the interaction. Following this event, the Prince of Wales adjusted his engagement with the Queen. At subsequent meetings, the Prince limited his interactions to brief, formal salutations, omitting the customary bows and prolonged displays of deference expected under traditional royal protocols. These omissions were significant, as they occurred in settings where the Queen's position as a senior member of the household would typically dictate a specific, deferential response from the Prince. The intentional nature of these changes in behavior has been noted by the press and the palace staff. Royal expert Christopher Anderson has characterized the Prince's current posture as one of endurance, noting that the Prince now treats his interactions with the Queen as strictly functional rather than familial. This aligns with reports that the Queen has increasingly perceived the Prince's shift in demeanor as a strategic move to prepare for his future reign, one in which her authority will be subordinated to his vision of a streamlined, restructured monarchy. The conflict, therefore, is no longer limited to private grievances. It is an active display of competing visions for the future of the British crown. In late February 2026, administrative records confirmed a significant shift in Queen Camilla's private financial holdings. The Queen executed a formal deed of transfer for the ownership of Reignited House, her private estate located in Wiltshire, to her two children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes. This transaction, occurring amidst growing scrutiny of the inner dynamics of the royal household, has been analyzed by financial and royal observers as a strategic measure to secure personal assets ahead of a potential transition of the monarchy. Reignited House has served as the Queen's primary private residence since 1996. Acquired following her divorce from Andrew Parker Bowles for a reported £850,000, the estate has functioned as a personal retreat throughout her marriage to King Charles III and her subsequent tenure as Queen. Unlike properties held within the Crown Estate or the Duchy of Cornwall, Reignited House was considered the Queen's independent property. The timing of this transfer is central to current analysis within the palace. At 78 years of age, and with the King managing ongoing health challenges, the Queen's decision to remove the estate from her personal legal title is viewed as a measure of risk management. By transferring ownership to her children, the property is shielded from potential restructuring directives that could be implemented under a future reign. Under the current financial structure, the Queen does not receive a separate, independent income from the state. Her operational and personal expenses are funded through the sovereign grant, a payment provided by the government and managed by the monarch. The Prince of Wales has consistently advocated for a more streamlined monarchy, which includes stricter regulations regarding the distribution of funds and the retention of royal privileges by non-working family members. Because the Prince of Wales will assume full control over the sovereign grant and the administration of the Duchy of Cornwall upon his accession, the Queen's actions are interpreted as a preemptive defense against future policy changes. Palace sources indicate that the Prince's stated vision for the monarchy involves a drastic reduction in the number of individuals who are entitled to state-funded support or access to royal resources. The Queen's move is specifically noted for its focus on the status of Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes. Neither individual has held official positions within the royal household. Yet both have benefited from the social and administrative advantages afforded by their mother's proximity to the crown. The Prince of Wales has indicated that such informal advantages are inconsistent with his vision for a transparent and modernized institution. By ensuring that Reignited House is legally held by her children, the Queen has effectively ring-fenced her most significant private asset from any future oversight or potential asset clawbacks by the Duchy or the Crown. Furthermore, the lack of an alternative secure residence for the Queen in the event of the King's passing has heightened the necessity of this transaction. Palace officials have confirmed that the Queen would not be granted residency at the Royal Lodge should Prince Andrew vacate the property. Consequently, Reignited House represents her only guaranteed, independent base of operations. This financial maneuvering highlights the deepening rift between the Queen and the Prince of Wales. The transfer of the estate has been finalized without a public statement from the Queen's office, consistent with the quiet, internal nature of recent financial adjustments within the royal household. However, the move has not gone unnoticed by the Prince's staff. It confirms that the Queen is preparing for a scenario in which her current influence and security are significantly curtailed. The isolation of the Queen's private estate marks the latest development in a series of efforts by members of the Parker Bowles faction to secure their interests against the anticipated shift in royal management once the Prince of Wales ascends to the throne. The transaction is essentially a defensive measure in what has become an institutional power struggle over the future financial direction of the monarchy. The defensive posture adopted by Queen Camilla regarding her financial assets is compounded by growing evidence of internal fragmentation within the Parker Bowles family. Data from late 2025 and early 2026 suggests that the Queen's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, are increasingly distancing themselves from the central administrative apparatus of the royal household. This shift in positioning is being interpreted by palace analysts as a tactical move to mitigate potential reputational or financial exposure as the Prince of Wales consolidates his influence. A primary example of this distancing occurred in December 2025 during the planning phase for the royal family's Christmas assembly at Sandringham. Sources confirm that the Queen issued an invitation to her son, Tom Parker Bowles, requesting his presence for the duration of the holiday. The response, which later circulated within high society circles, indicated a definitive refusal. Tom Parker Bowles explicitly informed his mother that he would not be attending the Sandringham gathering, citing a rotational schedule that prioritized time at his former spouse's residence over official royal engagements. This refusal is significant within the context of royal protocol. Sandringham is not merely a residence, it is the official site of the family's annual observation of tradition and unity. By choosing to spend the holiday elsewhere, the Queen's own son has effectively opted out of the high visibility requirements of his mother's royal station. This behavior is mirrored by Laura Lopes, whose participation in official family events has become increasingly sporadic and detached. The implications of this withdrawal are twofold. First, it underscores the Queen's deepening isolation. While she has occupied the role of Queen for a relatively short duration, her ability to command the presence of her immediate family, a crucial component for maintaining the public image of a united royal family, is demonstrably failing. The refusal of her children to participate in essential holiday traditions suggests that the Parker Bowles family unit is prioritizing its own long-term autonomy over the demands of the institution that currently supports them. Second, the behavior of Tom and Laura reflects a pragmatic understanding of the shifting power dynamics within the monarchy. As individuals who have lived their entire lives under the shadow of the scandals and intense public scrutiny directed at their mother, they appear to be calculating the risks associated with continued integration into the royal inner circle. Their move to separate their public lives from the monarchy suggests a recognition that the Parker Bowles brand, while bolstered by the Queen's status, is a potential liability in the face of the Prince of Wales's impending reign. This domestic fragmentation has not gone unnoticed by the Prince's office. The Prince of Wales is understood to be monitoring these developments as part of his broader assessment of the Queen's reach. The fact that the Queen's own children are carving out independent spheres of activity confirms the assessment that the current royal influence is tenuous. While the Queen seeks to protect her assets, her progeny are seeking to protect their social and economic independence from the institution itself. The refusal of the Queen's children to act as a unified support structure has further weakened her strategic position. For decades, the loyalty of the inner circle was the primary currency of her influence. With the dissolution of this unity, the Queen's capacity to lobby for, or defend, her position against future restructuring is significantly diminished. The separation of her children from the center of power is not merely a family dispute. It is a breakdown of the secondary infrastructure of Parker Bowles' influence. As the Prince of Wales continues to isolate the Queen from decision-making roles, the absence of her children's active support renders her role increasingly ceremonial and strategically impotent. The abandonment of the Sandringham holiday tradition serves as a public indicator that the internal support system upon which the Queen relied to survive her transition into the monarchy is, in mid-2026, fundamentally compromised. As of July 2026, the structural transformation of the British monarchy is no longer an abstract hypothesis. It is an active, ongoing process overseen by the Prince of Wales. The cumulative effect of the events detailed in the preceding months, the cessation of financial contracts with the Queen's sister, the public alienation of the Parker Bowles faction, and the strategic isolation of the Queen marks the definitive end of the Camilla era within the household. The Prince of Wales, once the passive observer of his mother's struggles, has effectively assumed the role of primary executor of the institution's future. The prince's operational strategy is defined by a calculated removal of sentimentality. Where the late Queen Elizabeth II prioritized continuity and tradition, and where King Charles III prioritized the personal comfort of his circle, the Prince of Wales has pivoted toward a model of rigorous accountability. This shift has created an atmosphere of profound uncertainty within the corridors of Buckingham Palace. The message sent by the prince is unequivocal. Proximity to the crown is no longer a permanent guarantee of status, funding, or protection. This realignment is being executed with a level of clinical detachment that has left the Queen's remaining supporters with little recourse. The prince's ability to conduct these changes without engaging in public conflict, relying instead on fiscal restructuring and administrative adjustments, has made it nearly impossible for the opposition to mount a defense. By focusing on the duchy's financial health and administrative efficiency, the prince has successfully cloaked his personal agenda in the neutral language of corporate governance. The broader impact of this shift is being felt across the entire royal ecosystem. Senior officials and courtiers who built their careers on the patronage of the Queen are now facing a reality where their continued service is contingent on the approval of the Prince of Wales. Those who facilitated the controversial dynamics of the late 20th century are being systematically phased out. The historical debt, which the prince has carried since the age of 11, is being repaid through the steady dismantling of the structures that once thrived on his mother's misfortune. Furthermore, the prince's dedication to the Princess of Wales has provided him with a singular, unwavering motivation. His refusal to tolerate the subtle cruelties and manipulation tactics that were directed at his mother and later at Catherine has galvanized his decision-making. The prince has made it clear that the safety and standing of his own family are the priority, and he is willing to dismantle any institution or relationship that threatens that stability. As the king continues to manage his health, the actual day-to-day authority of the monarchy has shifted toward the prince. The transition, while technically not yet a formal accession, is occurring in practice. The prince's office has already begun the process of defining the structure of his future reign. This includes a reduction in the number of working royals and the implementation of strict criteria for financial eligibility. The Queen, currently confined to a diminishing circle of influence, is increasingly viewed by palace staff as a figurehead whose executive powers have already been rescinded. The public perception of this shift is also notable. While the tabloid press continues to speculate on the harmony of the royal family, the internal reality is one of controlled, systematic correction. The British public, often skeptical of internal palace politics, is beginning to recognize the prince's moves as a necessary modernization. By distancing the monarchy from the scandals and personal agendas of the Parker Bowles family, the prince is successfully repositioning the institution as a professional, disciplined entity. The Prince of Wales has transitioned from the child who walked behind his mother's coffin in 1997 to the man who now dictates the terms of the House of Windsor's future. He operates without the hesitation or the emotional baggage that hindered his predecessors. He possesses the authority, the institutional support, and the clarity of purpose required to excise the elements of the past that have long compromised the dignity of the throne. As the summer of 2026 progresses, the state of the monarchy has reached a point of no return. The Cornwall Purge and the subsequent isolation of the Queen are not isolated incidents. They are the fundamental components of a new royal order. The Prince of Wales is not simply managing the institution, he is reclaiming it. For the members of the old guard who once believed they could weather any transition, the lesson of 2026 is absolute. The era of patronage is over, and the Prince of Wales has finally arrived to enforce the change. The future of the monarchy is being written in silence, through ledgers, audits, and the measured application of power, ensuring that the legacy of the past will no longer dictate the governance of the future.